the street that Christopher J thinks he's off the hook in 2020, man, because the coronavirus, man, that coronavirus getting over, man. Joey Cage, man, tell us a quick story.
Well, that's right, Jake. Welcome back. And this next one, this little bitty right here, it's called No, He Does Have a Job. So this one's pretty funny. I think most people know by now that Chris has to argue and he has to win. You know, for a guy that I always laugh because Chris always says, like, I just want to be left alone. I don't start anything with anybody. You know, he does that shit all the time. But he's like the guy that always asks for it. Like, he asks for it. I mean, like, and this is another example of Chris asking for it. I'm not going to say he's asking for it. He's asking for it. It's a difference. So, you know, I've told the story before how Chris was kind of being tight with money, you know, when it was like, hey, we're all pitching in a certain amount. And Mark was like, well, we can all pitch in 15 each. And Chris is like, 15 each? 15 each? Like, it was ridiculous. Like, if we're asking him to, you know, to like fucking give up his finger or something to go hang out with us, you know. I don't think spending $15 on a hangout with your friend, he's like, well, not just that, it's every single week, you know. But if it's for me, it's fine. But it's with y'all, and I'm feeding everyone, including me, and y'all are pitching in 15. No, that's bullshit. So our buddy Ray, our good buddy Ray, me and Mark's great buddy Ray, he was basically facilitating the food. He would put in, I mean, there was times he put in like $90-something, man. And I would be the one to cook it, and I forgot what I was gonna trash Chris for. That's how you know you're getting over. And okay, and Ray was making a big stink to Chris about it because, like, at the time, I mean, I was cutting grass, I was doing Uber, whatever I could, you know. I was just coming out of that cycle, and I had just got hired at my call center job, and I had literally, I don't even think I had begun to work yet. Even if I did, I hadn't even got my first paycheck yet, right? So, of course, Ray, being the nice guy that he is, the considerate guy that he is, you know, my longtime friend, I know Ray for, I mean, over 10 years, he was getting on Chris because he was like, man, he eats the most, dude, and he does all this. You know, he's calling him out, like the piece of shit that he is. And I was happy. I was like, yeah, Ray, tell him something, dude. Tell him. Don't let him off that easy. Because I'm always the one that, like, you know, like when I first met Mark didn't say anything about him doing it, you know, like, and then I started saying stuff. And then when you get Ray on there, it's like, man, it gets even more built up with Ray saying stuff about it, how Chris would be saying, you know, because when he used to hang out with Mark, he would just bring bread, you know, Mark would make, you know, steaks and all kinds of shit. And I laughed one time. It was pretty funny. Like, I had asked, it was like before I hung out with Mark, like the way I do now. And Chris was like, oh, I'm going to go hang out with Mark's or whatever. He's making steak, and I think it was like baked potatoes or something like that. And he's like, he got the good steak too, none of that Milanesa crap. And I was just kind of like laughing. I'm like, Chris, you know, Mark had to impress Chris. He wasn't going to buy any of that bullshit, you know. But if you ask Chris, you know, like, hey, you know, go grab something, he'll go to the Milanesa to go save a buck, because if he's feeding you, he's like, here you go, this is what you're getting, because I'm paying for it now, you know. Anyway, so Ray was like getting on him. He's like, hey, dude, let's help out Joe. Dude, he doesn't even have a job, you know. And, you know, technically, I know what Ray was saying, but of course, Chris has to find any way to jab back and to fight and argue, like trying to say, nope, you're lying, you're wrong. That's what he's doing, you know. He goes, no, he does have a job. But that wasn't the point that Ray was trying to make. I understood that, like, okay, I got hired somewhere, but I'm not having any, you know, income flow in. I'm far behind, you know, at that time. It was really bad. And Chris had to play that game with him. Like, no, he does have a job. Like, basic, and I know he wasn't saying it, but in other words, it's like, no, I don't have to pitch in more, you know, to recoup for you know, because if there's 4 pillars and one of the pillars is weak, well, everyone else has got to, you know, take more of the force that's, you know, coming down now. But Chris was like, nope, not going to do any more than I have to. And Ray was like, nah, dude, don't worry about it, Joe. I got, you know, he's in the middle holding both of our sides up because he wants to hang out. He wants to have a good time. And I thank him for that, you know. He was like, hey, dude, don't worry about it, dude. You know, like, and he would always say, we'd be at the grocery store, and he, of course, he's all slappy the shit out of my bag. Hey, dude, you gotta eat good, dude. I ain't like that other one, man, that he don't give a fuck, dude. He's just worried about himself, dude. Your true friends will come out when you need them, you know. Fucking Chris, you know, Ray's got the the microphone walking through HEB, giving a speech on why, he's the best friend out of all the friends. I'm like, it's all right, dude. I understand, dude. You don't gotta throw the speech out. But I'm glad he did, because now it's time for me to trash Chris. And that was the thing I couldn't get. I was like, no, he does have a job. Like, okay, so yeah, I did get hired someplace, but am I getting any income? That was the point, you know what I mean? But he just wants to take any shot he can. If there's a correction to be made, so even if you say something wrong, and even if his argument or whatever is not valid, just because you said something wrong, it's like he automatically hits that bingo fucking button and like, oh, I win. You guys are all wrong. You guys are all lying about me. And especially if there's it has to do with money and Chris saving money. Like, I'm all about saving money, dude. But if it's anybody else, Chris isn't interested in saving money or being a penny pincher, dude. It's like, like I said, that's why I brought up the Melanessa crap. They're like, oh, not Melanessa crap. But if you're like, hey, Chris, why don't you host us some baked potatoes and steaks? Oh, my God. You better believe you're going to be eating some kind of...
I wake and sweat, you come to steal my life away. Some strange electric glow of artificial day. The power breakers close, the grid of darkness falls, shining, gleaming black as night.
I'm not too sure what I'm going to call this one, but for right now, it's called the Haunted House Gun. So this one's a pretty interesting story, man. I was laughing when I heard it. So one of these days, of course, it's like, it's Chris, so of course you believe it, but he's these are one of those scenarios to where you're always going to hear me say, if it's him, it's okay. But if someone did this to him, the guy would flip the fuck out. So y'all know the Jeremy story. Before this, I couldn't even say his name. If I said Pitchfork Mentality or Jeremy, you better take that down. You think the Road Warriors are doing a podcast, dude. I swear. So Mark was over there with Ray. This is when Ray and Chris were buddy when they were both doing that bullshit we're friends game. Like, I already knew. I started laughing when Ray was like, I went over there and got a pizza and ice cream, and Chris, of course, is like, instead of getting him, and I know Chris goes, I bought that church. Is that one? We've never been able to not hear about that one or two or three times that he's bought churches, but Ray's bought it like 50 times, the other stuff. But the 3 times or however many times Chris has brought it, which is very, it's basically a 1-to-3 ratio, minimum, that we will never not hear. I bought it a few times, and all I would hear was, Ray came over with a pizza and cheesecake. Not just pizza, anyone can grab a pizza. The good pizza and good cheesecake, not just that Milanesa crap like Chris likes to say, right? So Mark and Chris were there Mark and Ray were there with Chris, and we were kind of interested in going to a haunted house. I forgot where. It was for October, so not too long ago. And this was before that Chris became best friends, I should say, with Jeremy again, because now they're friends. And Mark was like, hey, we should all go to the haunted house. Me, Chris, Ray, Jeremy. And then Chris was like right away giving that Chris look that only Chris can give, utter disgust, like, how dare you even think it, how dare you even think it, And it was something that was building up, and Chris, of course, right away not say anything on the chat. He would just ignore. Well, of course, when Mark's there with Ray, Chris decides to send a message. I guess that's what he was doing, right? The biggest chicken shit on the chat, and all this. And one time we had asked him, like, hey, what are you gonna do if you see, Jeremy somewhere? And he fucking said, I'm gonna run away. I'm like, you're gonna run away? And then of course Mark saw a 300-pounder, and then Chris is gonna correct me. I wasn't 300 pounds yet. I was 285. You're lying about me. He said he would run away, and I'm like, okay, well, let's just say he catches you. Well, then I'm gonna curl up into a ball and dial 911. And I'm just like, you're gonna curl up into a ball and dial 9 and say what? That your old bandmate said hi to you and he's trying to see why you're running away like a fucking maniac, Like, this is the motherfucker we're dealing with, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, it's like unfucking real. And then, so he's there, and Mark brings up the whole, hey, let's go to the haunted house, right? And Chris just gets up and walks to the other room, And Ray, I remember Mark telling me, he goes, yeah, you know, Ray's all like, hey, dude, what's he doing, man? And then Mark goes, he's gonna go get his gun. Like, oh, no, you know, fucking, he's doing the no. So here he knows that, you know, Chris is a fucking maniac. And like, I would have never guessed it. Like, you know what I mean? But Mark, Mr. Clairvoyant, you know, Mr. Clairvoyant Ramos, he's like, oh, he wants to go get his gun, dude. And then Ray's all like, for real, dude? He's like, yeah. And then Chris comes back to the living room with like a putter for golfing. And then like a bag with a gun in it. He's like waiting for it. Like, and then when I had said that, you know, well, when Mark told me, he's like, I didn't pull out a gun on you. I had my gun out in my bag. And I'm like, so you brought out your gun and it's in its little case. You set it wherever you did on your chest, your stomach, your lap, whatever. And you have a golf club. Like, what is that? What does that mean? I started laughing. Me and Mark, you know, the same way that Chris said he was going to put a tracker on Ray when he finds out he's at my house, and then he's going to go track him down and then beat him up. It's like, why do you have a gun and a putter? It's like, were you going to shoot somebody and then like the gun wasn't enough, so you start beating them with the putter, you know? Like, this guy is overkill. Like, no matter what the fuck we're talking about, it's always fucking overkill. Like, you know what I mean? All you gotta do is score 10 to win. He wants to score fucking 28. You're like, okay. So he brings out a gun, and then like Mark's took a picture of him. It's a famous photo, and he's just staring at Mark. And I'm like, can you imagine? And the whole thing was Mark asking him, hey, are you gonna go with us to the haunted house? You know, I want to ask Jeremy to go with us. And he took that as, I'm gonna pull out a gun, put it on my chest to show you. And then his whole reasoning, because he said multiple times, like, why the fuck would you pull out a gun on your friend you've known for 20 plus years? I'm not going to be pressured into anything. So and then like also his other thing is, he's like, you beat me up and you drag me over there. I'm like, who wants to beat you up and drag you to a haunted house, you know? And then you got a gun, you know? He's all like, go ahead, show up with him and I'll answer the door. I got something waiting for him. I'm like, you're gonna go just start shooting people or pull out your gun. Like, I have a gun too. Like, I'm not just like flaunting it every time someone, like, I don't agree with them. Like, again, in my situation, like, what would Chris do if like he did something that pissed me off or I felt threatened, you know, because anyone could feel whatever they want, right? It's bullshit. But I just went out with my shotgun case and just sat there in front of Chris staring at him, giving him a dirty look. Do you think, I mean, I don't think I'd ever see Chris again, or at least not have a cop knock them, you know, 5 minutes later. Did you have a gun out? Can you imagine? But of course, me and Mark aren't like that. Of course, Chris is like, it's only okay if he does it. Who the fuck pulls out a gun on a friend that you've known for 20 fucking years because they asked you, however you want to slice it, Chris, you know? And all the fans out there, however you want to slice it. Hey, do you want to go out to a haunted house? Let me get up and go walk to my next room, bring out a gun. I don't care what your reasoning behind it. You're not going to pressure me. No, you've been building it up. No, it's like, no. Like the way you got to talk to a little kid. Like, no. The way he likes to say, no. Like, you don't do that. Like, you know, if you feel threatened, like if someone's breaking into your house, sure, grab your gun. You know, but if someone's asking you, do you want to go to a haunted house with us? An old bandmate's going to be there. You're going to go grab a gun. Not on your own bandmate, but your friend asking you about it. And the putter.
What do you want from me? I sense your mastery. There's something you won't ever find. So have your way with me. This prisoner is never free. Rip me up, leave me behind.
Hell of a story. Give us another one, Joey Cage. What?
Now this one, it's probably one of my favorite. I've actually told a few people about it. I don't know if Mark's told Kevin. Oh, hi Kevin. Hello. It's a funny one. I call it When Chris Almost Died. And I saw it the other day because I had wrote down these titles, right? That I was gonna like name some of these segments, and I wanted to have like a title so I can remember, you know, without writing out this whole paragraph of what the fuck I'm gonna talk about. Just give me an idea of what I'm gonna talk about. And I had titled this one, you know, When Chris Almost Died. And I was thinking, because, you know, I was like, man, how many times this motherfucker almost died, you know? And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, that time. Because, you know, it came across my mind again. Because Chris, when you deal with a maniac like Chris, you know, he does so many fucking things. Like, you forget. You know, you fucking forget. And So this one, I'll tell you from my point of view. I'm not going to tell you what happened on that other end, but it was fucking ridiculous and funny, and I was scared at the same time, dude. All those Chris feelings. So one morning, I just wake up and I see my phone, and it has Mark sending me private messages, and there's like a few of them. So I'm kind of like, oh, you know, it's always gonna be fucking over like a son of a bitch, because Mark never uses the private chat unless it's for, you know, biznatch purposes with me. And I had listened to the first message, and he goes, listen to this fucking lunatic. It was something like that he was telling me. And then I listened, and I pull up the messages, and it's all like, you know, there was like 3 of them. It's Chris sending the messages. I don't know if he sent it on the chat or if he sent it directly to Mark. I don't really recall. But the whole point was Chris was sending Mark these messages, and I think it was about the same thing. I think it was about the Jeremy situation. That whole let's go hang out at the haunted house. It probably was. I think it was before he pulled out the gun. So that's why. So before then, that's probably why he pulled out the gun the second time. I guess now that or the first. You know, this is probably why he pulled out the gun on this. After the fact. And so I'm listening to these messages, and I hear Chris like, "You keep fucking playing with me, Mark. You keep fucking with me. I'll be over there in a second." I might put them on here if I can find them. There's so many messages that I keep from Chris, but if I can find them, I'll post them. He's like, "You keep fucking with me, Mark. You keep fucking with me. I'll be over there in a second. You keep fucking like," and I'm like, I'm listening to it, and I'm like, you know, is this motherfucker gonna go over there? That's what my first thought is. You know, like, is this motherfucker gonna go over there? And then another message, it was something like, "I'll be over there." You could hear him driving. You can hear him driving. Oh my God. I was listening to it like, first thing I do, wake up, before I even get out of bed, I'm scrolling through it. And it's him like, "You keep fucking with me, and then I'll be over there in a second, and then and you keep fucking playing, Mark. You keep fucking playing." I can hear that's what it was. You can hear his keys. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, is this fucking idiot? Mark was busy doing something, I could let you take a guess what it was, but he was busy, right? Taking care of horseman business. And this motherfucker is like going over there like in the evening, keys clanging away. And I'm like, and I'm kind of like, I feel like worried for him, because I'm like, is this fucking dude going to go over to Mark's? Like, I understand, like, y'all are friends, but like now you're fixing to piss him the fuck off. That's what I was thinking. And then I didn't hear any more messages, and I kind of like freaked out. I'm like, well, what the fuck happened? And I asked Mark, I'm like, what happened? What happened with this fool? He's like, no, he came over here. And I think Chris actually pulled up to his house, and I asked Chris after I asked Chris, I'm like, hey, because Mark told him, hey, I'm busy or something like that. Like, Chris didn't get off the car, but I go, Chris, what the fuck were you doing? He drove all the way. It's a good ways to get to Mark's, but Chris is not that far. It's like about 10 minutes away or so, 8 minutes away. And he pulls up, and he like gets there, and he just like, I guess he finally thinks about what he's doing, and he just takes off. And I asked him that. I go, what the fuck were you thinking when you were going over there? You gonna go beat the shit out of him or what? He's like, no, dude, I was just upset. He's pressuring me into things. And, I pulled up to his house, and I just thought, hey, man, what am I doing? And then I asked, I was laughed at Mark's answer. I go, what the fuck were you going to do? That fucking enraged, blown up maniac's going to be breathing hard on your door, knocking at, wanting to fight you. And he goes, oh, I'll just punch him one time, and he'll be knocked out. And then I'm going to drag him to the street. I'm going to drag him to the middle of the street. I could not stop laughing. Because I could actually see Chris, right away, he's a big balls and just, right away just gets knocked out because he's a fucking piece of shit. Like, the guy can't even go upstairs, and he's going to go beat up Mark. And that's the other thing, too, is that we always laugh because, oh, he don't want to fight Jeremy. Jeremy's, 5'10", right, whatever. 150 pounds on a great day soaking wet. You're going to go mess with Mark, 240 pounds of pure beef Americana, like, give me a fucking, like, that's the guy you're going to talk shit. Like, that's what I don't get. That's the guy you're going to go talk shit to. You're not going to talk shit to Jeremy, probably 140 pounds. You know, not gonna say a word to him, but you're gonna go to Mark's house. You keep fucking with me. You keep fucking with me. You fucking bitch. I'm like, oh my god, this motherfucker does shit everything backwards. It's like a combo story because they're not too long, like Chris's penis. But I wanted to mention them. One of them's called "Pull Out Your Penis." Go figure. And "Slow and Painful Death." So I guess I'll you know, just a quick thing that Chris does with the whole "pull out your penis" thing. So for whatever reason, I guess, you know, we secretly think Chris is a homosexual because he won't be fucking. Oh, that's the highlight of the night. So I mean, I think it'll prove it when I get to the Chris threesome. Chris is over here shaking when he heard that one. But the whole thing is that, like, he won't like do shit with chicks, or I do shit with chicks, but it's like fucking like pansy shit. But with Mark, I mean, to me, he's done it to me like once or twice, but for Mark, it's like a daily, weekly, whatever we hang out thing. And Mark calls it a dick dive. So Mark will like, hey Chris, you know, get on the scale or whatever he tells him. And then Chris goes, okay, well, pull out your dick, you know, pull out your penis. And like, he gets on his knees and he reaches for it. And Mark goes, what the fuck are you doing, Chris? He doesn't do it to play. Like, I'm waiting for the day that Mark's like, all right, go ahead, do what you're going to do with it. Like, man, he does it all the time. Pull out your penis. And he starts grabbing like, Mark, come here, you know, and Mark, don't fucking touch me. And it's a weekly thing. Pull out your penis. I'm like, I've never hung out with another guy, and it's like, they ask me like, hey, can you go, you know, grab the hamburger patties? Sure, pull out your dick. Like, that's the Chris response for you. I mean, there's gonna be many more stories like that. I'll give you examples. I'll start writing them down. But that's something that motherfucker always, like, I mean, like, is that something you're proud of? You know, like, you're hanging out with, is that something you would do in front of your chick, right? Like, you're hanging out or whatever, and it's like, hey, Chris, jump on the scale. Well, pull out your penis. You're like, well, would you start asking another guy to pull out his dick in front of your chick, you know? I mean, those are things you got to think about, dude. So, next thing, the slow and painful deaths. I don't think I've talked about it, but they're all these stories kind of like, they're intertwined. So, you're going to hear me say that a lot because it's Chris, and Chris is fucking all over the place. So, he makes me, you know, go a little bit crazy just trying to remember the shit. So slow and painful deaths, like I said, I may have mentioned it. So one of the time periods he hated Ray, right? You're gonna. It's hard to believe it already, right? One of the time periods he hated Ray and wanted to fight with Ray. We hung out with Ray because I think he was avoiding Mark, and I think he was still talking to me, but it was kind of like he was playing that hiding game, right? He likes to hide like a little chicken shit, chicken shit motherfucker, and he saw that we had uploaded a podcast, and this must have been like February 2018-ish, maybe about 18-ish, right? Something like that, or even 7. It was a while back anyway. And Chris is going to tell me the exact date and time it was uploaded, what he was doing, but he won't tell us what him and Nancy were, you know, what Nancy told him when they were breaking up. But he had saw that we had uploaded a podcast, and like right away, he did not. I think that time he didn't talk to us for like a good month to 2 months. I'm gonna ask Mark, and he'll like give me more info on it. But he decided not to talk to us because we hung out with someone he didn't like. Now, how many people do that? We're not gonna talk to you because you're, you know, like this guy, you know, like he'll pull out a gun on you. But if you talk to someone he doesn't like, dude, then you're going a little too fucking far. And so the long story short on this is he stopped talking to us, and then he started talking to us a while, like, you know, sometime later. And it came, like, he just admitted it for whatever reason. He's like, no, when I found out y'all did a podcast with Ray, I wish y'all all had died slow and painful deaths. And I was just kind of completely blown away. Like, I've had some, like, I'm not, like, I've never said, like, I'm a perfect person, or that I've not, like, been an asshole at some point in my life, but I've never wished slow and painful death on my friends. You know, like, I think we've all been screwed up before. I'm like, fuck that motherfucker, you know? But I've never sat there and said, I hope they die a slow and painful death. Especially to, like, my friends that I've known for a long time. Like, it's never crossed my mind, you know? Like, but this motherfucker, like, he told us, not just that we died, like, he didn't want us to exist on this earth anymore because of his feelings at that moment. Like, how selfish is that, right? Because y'all made me feel, you know, upset at this moment. You know, of course it's ridiculous because it's me and I shouldn't be upset, but because y'all made me feel, I hope y'all die. And then not just die, but slow and painfully. Like, he wants us to go through torture. And I'm sure, like, the last thoughts to our mind are, you know, he wants us to be like, that's what you get for fucking doing a podcast with Ray. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you know, I mean, like, I look around the room, like, I want someone to answer me, like, if that's fucking rational. Like, if that's rational, but this is the guy, and you know, in case y'all didn't know, he's a Sunday school teacher, you know. I'm not gonna have sex, you know, until I get married, because, you know, that's what it says in the Bible. But wishing death upon people, that not really a big deal. So don't know why you're making a podcast about it, but okay.
Right, everyone, it's time for the main event of the evening. Yeah, in this corner, Christopher J and his PP. Yeah, and over here we got two chicas that are his next door neighbors. Special guest referee Joey Cage. Tell the story, man.
So this one's called the Christopher J Threesome. Now, this is one I know Chris right away when he heard that. He took a deep breath. He adjusted himself in his seat. Like, I can't believe he's going to tell this. Rose better not be listening. Rose, if you're listening, you turn it off. You turn it off right now, damn it. You turn it off right now. So this is a story that was conveyed to us by Chris. Now, the one that brought this stuff, Chris played that stupid game, like, right away. Of course he does, right? Right away, our buddy Kevin, Mark's buddy Kevin, Chris's buddy Kevin, my soon-to-be buddy Kevin, you know, because he's got plenty of Chris stories, dude. So anyone that's as interested in Chris as I am, dude, they're like family, man. I'm just saying, dude. So Kevin had told Mark, like, hey, ask Chris about the threesome with his neighbors. And of course, Mark waits till Chris is here so we can see if he's going to no-sell it, right? And of course he does. You know, what else is he going to do, right? The motherfucker remembers everything, but you ask him about stuff that is interesting, all of a sudden, dude, you know, he's in the land of Oz and shit, right? So we asked Chris, hey, what about this threesome with your neighbors? And he's like, what? You know, he's just playing that game. He's like, Chris, tell us. And then, of course, Chris, like, we were all sitting down at this table. Chris stands up and he walks out my back door and he comes back. I'm like, what are you? Just answer the fucking question. They're like, what do y'all want to know? We're like, what's Kevin talking about? What's this whole threesome? You know. And then he jumps right away. Y'all act like I'm some sex fiend addict, you know, that I'm just fucking girls all the time, having sex with girls all the time. I'm like, who said that? And then Mark tells him, you know, like, we want to know what Kevin's talking about. What's going on with you with this whole sex gimmick? I mean, we want to fucking know, like, you know. And then get Chris like, y'all act like I'm just doing this or whatever. And he's like, and he goes like, no, we definitely know you're not just, you know, diving into bitches, you know, doing threesomes whenever you want, Chris. Like, we can definitely tell, but we're asking about this one specific. So you have to, like, break him down, you know. He's not one of those guys that you're going to just knock out in a round, because he's going to do so much running and so much holding. He's going to try and frustrate you, so you're just like, well, fuck it, I'm not going to do it. You're like, nope, I'm still going to chase you down. I'm going to hit your arms, your elbows, your shoulders. Whatever I'm going to hit till you open up and fight. So he finally, okay. So we were on a trampoline, you know, and I'm like, and then I'm like, okay, well, tell me the story, right? And basically his bullshit, the funniest thing is towards the end. So, but his story was that him and his neighbor and some other girl, And he's like, they're married. Like he knew who we were talking about, because he's like, yeah, I'm friends with them on Facebook. And now they're married, and he knew exactly what he was playing. And I can't stand that. Just tell the truth. Just tell the fucking. Why do you have to play the stupid, dumb card routine when you know, like the guy that remember, he thinks we're stupid, and I can't. That's one thing that I can honestly say. I cannot fucking stand dishonesty, and then dishonesty on top of someone that fucking is always like 90% dishonest. Like there's always a fucking game. Like I'll tell y'all a quick story just to prove, how the length of my penis. My ex-wife, you're lying again. Your soon-to-be ex-wife she had somebody text me saying that I was messing around with this dude's chick and that I was confused. And me and Chris had a chuckle. It's like, so I'm confused, like basically saying like, I guess I'm gay, right? Basically saying I'm confused and gay, but I'm fucking with his chick, and I know that his chick is with him. I'm like, how does that work? This paradox, right? Anyway, so my ex is there talking, to me, and I'm like, well, like she's trying to be cordial or whatever, right? And I'm like, so why did you have, somebody text me saying I'm messing around or whatever? And she's like, what? What are you talking about? You don't make sense. Like, oh my, you're gonna play, like I saw the phone records. I could see that she was, messaging this person, and I knew it was a work. Let's just put it like that. And she still won't admit. I know the proof. I haven't talked to the bitch in 6 months, and she's still playing that game. So I don't expect don't expect me, I should say. Don't expect me to believe that this person's changed when they can't even tell the truth about something so simple, right? So I'm like, I don't want to hear it. Go fuck yourself. Back to Christopher J. So when he does this, I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, I'm friends with them on Facebook. God, son of a bitch. Like, you can't take a person like that serious, because you know what we're talking about, and you just fucking play the game. Anyway, back to the story. So he's like, well, we're on the trampoline. The motherfucking trampoline, man. And one of the chicks grabs his dick. And I go, well, what did you do? And Chris is like, I let her. I just laid there. It's like, oh my God. I don't know if she grabbed it or started kissing him. I know she grabbed his dick, but she might have been kissing him too. And then they went inside, right? So they go inside to this chick's house with the other chick. And I don't remember exact details because Chris, he was kind of going in and out. I'm going to ask Kevin what he told him. Unless Chris wants to, I'm going to do a podcast with Kevin. So Kevin, you write down a few stories, give yourself a few notes that you can, show me, and I'll fucking ask you about it. And I'm going to have Chris have a little check mark, list to tell him what was a lie. Because, like 98% of what people say about him is a lie. Of course, Mr. Honest, right? So, they go inside, and I'm like, so what happened? What do you mean what happened? We went inside. Okay, and then what? And then they started making out. I'm like, and I have to walk them through it. Okay, they're making out. What are you doing? I'm thinking he's jacking off in the corner or something, right? Putting it to him, something, right? He's like, I just laid there. And I'm like, you just laid there? I think they were making out and they were grabbing for him. I'm like, you didn't make out back, start taking off their shirt, start rubbing down there, he's just like, no, I just laid there. And I'm like, you know what? I actually believe this piece of shit that he's just gonna lay there and I guess pull down his pants, fucking make his dick hard for him, because he can't do that on his fucking own. He's not gonna just get it with seeing these chicks make out. Jump on his fucking dick, ride him, do all he wants them to do. I'm like, Chris, in what universe is the man not fucking, taking control of the situation with two chicks there, obviously showing interest in you if they're grabbing your fucking dick, and you're just and if you know Chris and if you've seen Chris just lay there, I mean, it's very easy to imagine him just laying there go ahead, do what you want, if you're spoon feeding somebody that can't move, basically the same thing, right? He's fucking, it's just, was it Ethan Hawkins or whatever the fuck, Stephen Hawkins, Chris, that's incorrect again, so I'm like, Chris, you had 2, and he's like, okay, great. And I'm like, what do you mean great? No, it's not great. I'm telling, like, it's like he doesn't want to hear the things he does wrong, you know, because he feels embarrassed. But it's like, you have to, like, I've always told him too. I'm like, well, if I don't tell you what you're doing wrong, or you look like an idiot, you should have done this, how the fuck are you gonna learn? You're not gonna learn. That's the reason why I tell you and I point. I think I just like, I get a chuckle out of it, of course, but it's like, I don't want you to make these same mistakes, you know. But it's like, nope, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, look like a piece of shit. Like we were laughing, like, how many people can say they've been at a threesome, right? But Chris could say that he wasn't in a threesome, but it was a potential threesome. But of course, he doesn't want to fucking, you know, he doesn't want to have to put in any effort. He's like, dude, if I have to, like, you know, start fingering them to get them all hot and bothered and put my penis in them, dude, that's just too much work for me.